Should we exploit the land for short-term gain or tend to it for future generations? For centuries, we've been left with the choice to either exploit the land for short-term gain or restore it for future generations. Somehow along the way, we've lost touch with our responsibility. But at the end of the day, we have issues. It's more like the bad guy spreading its tentacle, elongating the problems in agriculture. What does it mean to tend to the earth? What does it mean to care for the earth? Why tomatoes? Tomatoes is a vegetable and also a fruit, right? To some a fruit, but to many vegetable. And tomato because first of the way it grows, secondly the color. It has this bold red vibe that it gives, to be very honest. Tomatoes has this growth process that reminds me of the Word of God. I think the Word of God, where it talks about, I paraphrase, where it talks about, we do not know how a seed germinates, we do not know how a seed germinates. So sometimes I wonder, how do we plant a seed and then we have a luscious red tomatoes ready for our delicacies? How? And then as a result of this curiosity, I'm like, okay, tomatoes, yes, I need to do something about this. I need to plant this vegetable to study how it grows. And now we transit from just the theoretical aspect of studying about it and now witnessing and experiencing it practical and first-hand. Tomatoes to me symbolizes the aspect of women. You all know about the story, women are like tomatoes. Yes, indeed, women are like tomatoes because under the right hand, we thrive, we survive, we bloom. Sometimes we are tangy, other times our every burst slaps. First off, regenerative agriculture, in a layman's language, it talks about rebirth, something coming back to life, bringing something that has depleted back to life through various avenues, various practices and procedures. But now, in essence, the summary of this is regeneration, rebirth, renewal, the rebirth of the land, regeneration of the land. I mean, we can see a soil depleted, we can see a land degraded, and then when regenerative agriculture comes in contact with that land, the land tends to thrive, it tends to return back to life, and then we have something tangible to plant on. And on the other hand, regenerative agriculture, because it's alluded to the Bible, where God gave us the responsibility as man to tend to the earth, to subdue it, and he gave us authority over it, and he kept it under our care. So as stewards of God, we are meant to practice regenerative agriculture rather than deplete that which God has given to us to look after. We enable it to thrive, and then the earth would yield and increase through regenerative agriculture. Following our customer-centric survey, we have found out that in one word, the customers, the consumers, you and I, we want authenticity. We want to know the right source of our food. We want to know where our food are grown. We want to know how organic these food are. We also want to know if it meets with our value system. Do we want to just eat anything because it feels good, it is nice, or we actually want to eat to be nourished? Basically, Oleri Tomati Farm is a no-till organic farm, and we have found out through our survey in summary that the consumer wants authenticity. They want to know how organic their food are. Our responsibility is to tend to the earth. It all boils down to service. As stewards of God, we are meant to serve. First serve, even before reaping whatever fruits we have sown. The act of service Just as God did in the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 15, where he put the man in the land, in the Garden of Eden, and gave him the responsibility to tend to it. That is our responsibility. That is you and I's responsibility. The next time you see a farm, you should think about regenerative agriculture, to know that you are responsible to tend to that land, to make it yield and increase. Do we all know what goes on inside the soil? Do we know how the seed blooms and then becomes a seedling, and then a seedling grows up to become a fruit or a vegetable that is consumable? We actually do not have a better idea of that, right? Science may prove me wrong, but on the other hand, you and I are responsible to tend to the land that God gave us through service.